her family in the light and the love and the comfort of spirit. And we just give thanks for Mike, her beautiful son, that bright light that he was, but that he still is, because we know that there is no separation in spirit, that we are always connected to God and each other. And so we give thanks for Mike and this journey and his family. And God and Carolyn and her family blesses and expresses his understanding, comfort, peace, and the joy of happy memories. And we wish Mike Godspeed on this next adventure and this thing we call universal life and universal mind. And so it is. Amen. One more reminder, we have a full chair takedown after the service, and if you sponsored one of these beautiful Easter lilies for this Sunday, please be sure to take yours home today after the service. And now, why don't we prepare for the peace and refreshment of meditation with Rev Bev by singing the song In the Silence.
In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light, now you find that you know peace of mind. In the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there, peace is there, truth is there, God is there.
And so for a time we enter into that silent place where we feel the presence, the power, the peace, the love, and the glory of God. We know there is no place we can ever be that God is not. We know that we live, move, and have our being in the pure opulence of God every moment of every day. And as we remember these things, we rest. We rest in the awareness that God is. And just feel that. God is. God is the life within me. God is the life around me. God is the life in all things. And so for a moment, if you will, imagine that it is early in the morning. And the sun is just coming up. And you know this is the day of transformation. And there's a sense of excitement and expectancy. There's something different about this day. There's something special about this moment. And you can feel within your own being a stone being rolled away. You can feel within your own being that divine love that divine life that God is within you, and you set it free. Free to move through you, renewing, revitalizing, and restoring every atom and every cell of your being. Just feel it. Feel it quicken within you, a light that is so beautifully white. A light that shines even in the darkness. And it is you and me. And it's beautiful. And just feel it quicken within you more and more. Moving into this place. And feel that divine embrace of spirit. Blesses our friends and family that are with us here today. Blessing our friends and family that aren't with us today. And blessing our friends and family who haven't found us yet, but will. A divine light of spirit fills this room. That divine embrace embraces each one of us. And we see that we are one light, one peace, one wholeness, one love. In the silence, in the silence. And what a beautiful, kind, loving, peaceful light we make in this place. If there's someone that you would like to bring into this place of love and peace, wholeness, joy, opulence, just feel free to speak their name now, either in your mind's eye or out loud. And as we speak these names, either silently or aloud, we surround them with this divine embrace. We look beyond the situation, circumstance, and condition, and we see the point of God expressing. And so we all become one light, moving beyond the boundaries of this building, moving out into this community, this country, and around this earth. One light, one love, one peace, one wholeness, one joy, one feeling of compassion and beauty. No matter what the situation, circumstance, or condition is, we know that all things are moving for the highest good of everyone. The crooked places are being made straight, and the peace that passes understanding is infilling us. And then we let it go, knowing that infinite intelligence knows what to do. Omniscient wisdom knows how to do it, and omnipotent love does it very simply, very gently, and very easily. Father, Mother, God, we are grateful for this day of transformation. We are grateful for the reminder that every moment of every day is a day of transformation, and that your presence and your power is with us always, giving us life, love, wisdom. Now just take a few deep breaths and become aware of your bodies in this place and each other. And when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes, knowing that this is a sacred moment and this is holy ground. And so it is. Amen and Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever.
Good morning and happy Easter. This is a song called I Will Rise. There's a peace I've come to know, though my heart and flesh may fail. There's an anchor for my soul. I can say it is well. Jesus is overcome, and the grave is overwhelmed. The victory is won. He is risen from the dead, and I will rise when he calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise on eagle's wing before my God, fall on my knees and rise. I will rise.
What a pretty song. I just got the thumbs up. I'm on again. I'm sitting down here because I wanted to see if I was taller than the lilies, and not much. Not much taller than the lilies. So, this has been Holy Week, and it's been a week because, we had our service last week. We were going to have our Good Friday service, and there were too many notifications about tornadoes, strong winds, torrential downpours. Probably everything that happened when Jesus was crucified happened on Friday. So I think we got the full Monty experience of that whole episode. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we would have talked about on Good Friday, because this is a process that we're going through, and this is a reminder of what that process looks like. Last week, we said that we needed to make a decision. We needed to decide which king were we going to follow. And within our mind, we have many kingdoms. I have a kingdom of lack, and I have a kingdom of love, and I have a kingdom of fear, and I've got a kingdom of joy. And all those thought people live up here, and at any given moment, they can arise, and they can influence us. So which one do you want to pick? We said that the triumphant entry into Jerusalem was an interesting experience, because what we don't always hear about is the fact that Pilate also had his procession at the same time. Jesus came in from one side of Jerusalem, and Pilate came in from the other. Now, Pilate would come in riding his white horse with all his soldiers all polished up and ready to go with their swords and with their bows and arrows, and just being really intensely powerful and intimidating. And then we have Jesus coming in the other gate, riding on a donkey, which was a symbol of peace. Which one? Which one? Sometimes, depending upon the situation, we want to go with the Pilate leader and the Pilate king, because we get all revved up and all ready to knock 'em, sock 'em with somebody. We get into that space. But truthfully, what we really need to bring into the moment is this relationship that we have with God. And so we have Jesus entering into Jerusalem, and during that period of time, there was a lot of things that went on. He did his upper room discourses. We had the beginning of the Holy Eucharist. He found himself in Gethsemane, where he threw himself down on the ground and asked God if it was really necessary. Do I really have to do this? Have you ever been in a transformative state in your life where you found yourself in a corner, in a fetal position, with your heart just breaking open, asking God, is it really necessary that you experience this loss, or you experience this pain, or you experience this situation? And so here was Jesus in Gethsemane, asking if that's what he needed to do. And then ultimately he said, it's not his will, but God's will. Because there is this presence and power within us that no matter what it looks like out here, is going to lead us to something better. When things are going crazy out here is because we're trying to hold on to what's familiar, rather than letting go and letting that divine life lead us forward into a new experience. And so here we have Jesus going to the grave. Now, it's a three-part process, because it's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. So first we have to decide which king we're going to follow. Then there is the moment of the crucifixion, that moment when there's not anybody else we can beg to for help. There's not anything else we can do. There's not anything else that can change within us except to let the process happen. And so when Jesus was on the cross, and I'll touch on these very briefly, when Jesus was on the cross, the first thing that he said is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. There are times when my thoughts get me in so many interesting circumstances and situations, and then when it's all over, I go, God bless my humanness, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. because we get led into things that really aren't for our highest good sometimes. And so when Jesus is looking out at the people, he's having the same feeling. They're doing what they're doing where they are in the moment. And because they're doing what they're doing where they are in the moment, that gave Jesus the opportunity to do what he needed to do, which was to have this experience. Then Jesus was hung, as we know, between two thieves. And he said, the second statement, he said, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." There's one of the thieves over here that's just dissing Jesus. You're the Son of God. Get God to save you and us too. And then there's the other one over here that says, "I have heard him speak. He doesn't deserve this. We deserve it, but he doesn't." And so we have this dueling thing going on. And in our own states of consciousness, we do too. We have those things that say, you can never change. You can never do things differently. And then we have on this side that one that says, yes, you can. You can change. It can be different. We can transform our lives, and we can have a greater experience. So Jesus said, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Then Jesus saw his mom. Probably one of the hardest things that a mom can do is let their children have their own experience. Many of us that, have children or have had experience with children, you want to fix it for them. When you see where they're headed and they're going down the rabbit hole and you want to stop it, but if you stop it, it'll only happen again another time and in another way. So here's Mary, who not only had to watch him be crucified, be put up on this cross, but then also knew she couldn't do anything about it. She had to let him have this experience. And so in the process of that, Jesus was still being a teacher. And in the process of that, he saw John also. John represents love. Mary represents love. And he says to them, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." One of the things that Jesus had responsibility for was his mom. And in spite of what was going on for him, he made sure that she was taken care of. So we have two processes of love coming together, John and Mary, and being combined in a relationship that would be transformative. And then later in the afternoon, Jesus said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" I've said that more times than I care to admit to. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why am I having to have this experience? Why is it painful? Or why is it breaking my heart? Or why didn't you save me? And that's a big question. And one of the things that we find in Jesus asking that question is that Jesus, again, was a rabbi. Jesus was not a Christian. Christianity wasn't yet. He was a rabbi. He knew his Bible. And so we realize that that statement is the first line of the 22nd Psalm, which is a psalm of transformation and renewal. It's a psalm of revitalization. It's a psalm of, yes, we're going to go through this dark experience, but on the other side of it, there's something far more glorious, and God has never left us in the midst of any of it, even though sometimes it feels like God has left us in the midst of it all. And then he said, I thirst. I thirst. We all have had that experience too, probably, where we are so thirsty and so hungry for the truth, for a new experience. I went through a phase, we used to watch Touched by an Angel. I went through this phase where I hungered and I thirst to have an angel come through my door and touch me. Didn't happen, but I had that desire where we really want something so extraordinary that can help change our lives. And Jesus goes, I thirst. What is it that I need to do, and what is it that I need to know. And then he said, it's finished. That's that point for us when we can't fight it anymore, where we can't try to make it be different, where no matter how much we try to make it be different, it isn't going to change because it's already out here in manifestation, and the only thing that can get different is us creating a new experience for ourselves. It is finished. Now sometimes that gets confused with, why is it that in the 11th hour, when everything's falling apart around me, the hand of God swoops down and saves me? It's because we let go. It's finished. And then Jesus said, into thy hand I commend my spirit. Can't fight anymore, right? There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to experience. There's nothing else we can change. The only thing that we can do is go within, back to God. How often have you heard it said, when all else fails, pray? This is that experience where we let go so that God can move us in a new direction. So in the process of Jesus being crucified, lots of things happened. You know, there was darkness upon the earth. There was a grandfather who wanted to know if his little 4-year-old granddaughter understood the story of Jesus. And so he asked her about Jesus and about the story of Easter. And she said, it's when Jesus was arrested and Jesus was crucified and there was darkness on the earth. And he was real impressed because she's only 4 years old and she knew this story. And he thought, how great is it that she knows this story? And then he goes to compliment her and she says, wait. And then there were these earthquakes. And when the earthquakes happened, all the people came out of their houses and surrounded the tomb because they waited to see when Jesus came out, knowing that if he saw his shadow, there'd be 6 more weeks of bad weather. It's getting too heavy in here. I can see my granddaughter saying something like that. Absolutely. So, some unique things happen for the story for us. And that is that Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, they come along and they transform the story. They make it be really different. Because what happened back in those days when you were crucified, when they knew you were dead, they just took your body off a cross and threw it in a wagon, and they took the wagon down to the valley of Gehenna where the fires were burning. They just dumped you in there because you were a criminal. You had done some terrible offense. Of course, the guy who drove the truck could be bribed, but and people got their families back that way. But Joseph of Arimathea went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate, said, sure, you can have it. And so Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus take Jesus' body and they put it in a tomb. And his body is wrapped. He was prepared for this whole experience. And that meant that over 100 pounds of herbs and spices were going to be put on his body, and it would be bound with all these strips of cloth. It's a lot, right? And then they put him in a stone tomb, and a 2-ton rock was rolled in front of the opening. And the scribes and the Pharisees were a little concerned about the fact that that's all that was going to be there, so they wanted there to be a guard so that the disciples couldn't take him away. And they wanted it to be sealed so that nobody could do any destruction to it, and that's what happened. They were given a guard to guard the tomb, and they put seals all over it so that it couldn't have rolled away. Well, in the account in John chapter 20, Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb. And when she gets there, she saw the stone had been rolled away, and she went running to Simon Peter and to John, faith and love. She went running to them and said, he's gone. He's not in there. My goodness, where is he? So they went running and they saw that the tomb was empty and they saw the clothes inside the tomb. And they're sitting there and they're trying to figure out what happened and where Jesus might be. And so Simon, Peter, and John go running back to the disciples, and that just leaves Mary. And this is the account with Mary. It's probably one of the most touching pieces of the Bible. Meanwhile, after Peter and John left, Mary stayed outside near the tomb weeping. Then, still weeping, she stooped to look inside and saw two angels in white sitting with the body where the body of Jesus had been, one at the head, the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." Now keep in mind, for Jesus' ministry, he talked about the resurrection. He talked about after 3 days, he would resurrect his body. He talked about the greatest transformation of anything. And this is what makes Easter Easter, not the crucifixion, but what happened here. What happened here? And the people are looking for a dead Jesus, right? They're not looking for a risen Jesus or a risen Christ. They're looking for a dead Jesus. "They have taken my Lord away," she replied, "and I don't know where they put him." As she said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, though she did not recognize him. Why? She's not looking for Jesus. She's looking for a dead Jesus. Jesus said, "Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have taken him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go and remove him." Jesus said, "Mary." Most intimate of words in that moment, Mary. She knew him then and said to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means master. Can you imagine that? How powerful is that? When we're coming out of our own transformation, to just hear that connection and know that we have been transformed and that our lives are different in that moment. Jesus said to her, she went to hug him. And she said, "Do not cling to me. I have not yet ascended to my Father." Oftentimes in our own transformations, as we're having our experiences, there are people from the past that want to hold on to us. There are experiences from the past that want to keep us in that place. And Jesus said, "I haven't quite ascended. This transformation isn't quite mine yet. So don't hold me back. Don't ask me to stay the old way. Let me move and be transformed." So she went back, of course, to the disciples and told them about Jesus. Well, then Jesus comes to the disciples. And when he comes to the disciples, they're in a room, they've locked the doors, they are shaking in their boots because they think they're next to die. And so she comes to them and she says, "I've just seen Jesus." They don't believe her. Well, then Jesus comes to them and said, "She saw Jesus." And so here he is in the midst of them. He shows them his hands and his feet. Thomas was not with them in this experience. Now, Thomas represents understanding for us. And we have the expression doubting Thomas, because he wasn't there when the disciples told him about it. He said, "I won't believe unless I can touch his hands and put my hand in his side." So a week later, doors locked. Everybody's there, including Thomas. And who shows up? Jesus. And he goes to Thomas, and he puts out his hands and his side. And he said, "Look, go ahead, touch me. If you can touch me, it's okay." You know, when we go through a transformation experience, we still have our scars. They don't go away. It's just that in a transformation, the scars have changed from, this is why I'm in the mess I'm in and I've grown up the way I have, into, it's because of these things that I'm the person that I am now. And so Thomas says, my Lord and my God. And Jesus says, you believe because you've seen. Blessed are they who believe who have not seen. That can trust. That can trust. And whatever's going on in our lives, we can trust that the promise will be fulfilled. That the promises of Jesus, which is an abundant life, a joyful life, and a peaceful life, the promises of God that only good will come to you, you just got to stay on track. And even when you fall off track, you'll have to have an experience to get you back on track. Remember, Jesus wept on his way into Jerusalem. He said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, if you'd only heard my message of peace, if you'd heard it, then this wouldn't be happening. But you didn't. And so now we have to have an experience to get us back on track. And so the Easter story, the beginning, triumphant entry into Jerusalem, the middle, the crucifixion, and the statements from the cross, and the end, which is the very reason why we are here, is for the end result. And that is, Jesus did demonstrate that he had control over his life with God, that he could be transformed, and that things could be different. So if you're going through some sort of an experience and things seem a little shaky, stop. Stop fighting the experience. It's already there. Go back within. Give yourself permission to let go. And let your light shine. God bless you. Amen.
Good morning, Unity Church of Raleigh. It is so good to see so many beautiful faces today. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never failed me, and all my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You were close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend, for I have lived in the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, yes, I sing of the goodness of God. And I will sing of the goodness of
We always have such wonderful music. I'm so very grateful to you guys for the music that you provide for us. Thank you. Now let's prepare for our offering by singing I See Abundance Everywhere.
I see abundance everywhere. God's rich supply beyond compare. His hours to use and to enjoy. His gifts to us without alloy. Prosperity, prosperity. I know my own has come to me. God sends His children joy and peace. Good health and wisdom increase. And we are grateful for His ways. To thee, O God, in hymns of praise.
In just a moment, our ushers will be receiving our offering, but before they do, we like to give thanks. And I'm grateful and give thanks for this Easter holiday. It's a time to remember, it's time to acknowledge our own transformations and our own unfolding, and it's a time to come together as a family and celebrate love and peace and joy. So thank you for coming today and celebrating with me. Take our offerings in our hands and bless them as gifts of divine love. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have and all that I give and receive. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have and all that I give and receive. And so it is. Amen.
Well, this is kind of becoming a tradition here, I guess. All right. Last night as I lay sleeping, there came a dream so fair. I stood in old Jerusalem, beside the temple there. I heard the children singing, and ever as they sang, I thought the voice of angels from heaven in answer rang. I thought the voice of angels from heaven in answer rang. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, lift up your gates and sing, Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna to your King. And then I thought my dream was changed, the streets no longer rang. Hushed were the glad hosannas, the little children sang, and the sun grew dark with mystery, the morn was cold and chill, as the shadow of a cross arose upon the lonely hill, as the shadow of a cross arose upon that lonely hill. Jerusalem, 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 hark how the angels sing. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna to your King. And once again the scene was changed, new earth there seemed to be. I saw the holy city beside the tideless sea. The light of God was on the streets, the gates were open wide, and all who would might enter, and no one was denied. No need of moon or stars by night, nor sun to shine by day. It was the new Jerusalem that would not pass away. It was the new Jerusalem that would not pass away. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, sing for the night is o'er. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Happy Easter.
Oh, boy. I'm glad he didn't do that at the beginning. Holy mackerel. Just bear with me for a minute here. I usually say I taught him everything he knows, but I didn't teach him that one. He did that one all by himself.
Yay.
Father, Mother God, we are grateful for these gifts that entered this ministry, blessing and prospering this place. We bless the gift and the giver, knowing that they are one and the same and all one with you. We thank you, Father, Mother God, and so it is. Amen and amen. And now let's stand and welcome our kids back by singing, "We Are Walking in the Light."